Hi, welcome to episode 3 of Phoenix Unleashed. I am your host, Shipra Hendry. It's been an interesting week. I'll tell you about it momentarily. So, first, I want to just give a quick announcement that, well, let me just start with this. This past week, last week, my husband came home from where he was with coughing and symptoms. And a couple days later, I had some symptoms. And long story short, we may be some of the last people in the world to actually come down with the coronavirus. And I like to call it coronavirus because corona means crown. And from the very, very beginning of all of this, 2 years ago, or almost 2 years ago, when we all first started to hear about this, it seemed to many of us that the name was not an accident because corona, crown, refers to the highest level of the soul, the highest level of God in the Kabbalistic system known as Keser or Keter. It also refers to the redemption process, the Redeemer, the crowning of the King, the crowning of God. And it's been a rough time for so many people in so many ways. But I'm starting with this for a reason. First of all, the announcement, the 5-day training, 5-day free live interactive transformational training, unleash your inner fire, your soul fire and shine, which was meant to start on Sunday. We pushed back to January 2nd. Very first thing, I hope, on your agenda and calendar for the new year. This is going to be a very uplifting, awakening, empowering experience, also an experience of community. You'll learn a lot. You'll be inspired. You'll be, as I said, empowered, supported. You'll see yourself in new ways. You'll see your potential in new ways. So if you signed up for that, just stay signed up. No action required. You should have received an email. And if you have not signed up, you can do so at the URL that's scrolling underneath this video, gateofunity.com/soulfire. It's highly recommended. Share with your like-minded friends. This is a way, well, you'll understand more of why I'm doing this way by the end of this video. So here's the next thing I want to tell you. Saturday night, I had a meltdown. I was crying like I barely remember crying. Everything was just pouring out, including sweat from me, and I couldn't stop. And what I was feeling, a little bit of what I was feeling, although it seemed like much deeper than just this, coming from a much deeper place, was just like the burden that life sometimes can feel like, the burden of responsibility that we have. I guess my kids' generation call it adulting. We never had a name for it, but it is, adulting. It's like not easy, and it's especially not easy in a world that's going crazy. And we'll talk about that too. But it's a lot more than that. It's, we all have griefs from this life, sadnesses, traumas, griefs from previous lives, ancient. I feel like there's an ancient core of grief and sadness that wants and needs to come out of us. Didn't stop Saturday night. It went on as soon as I woke up Sunday morning, again, many hours. Like it might have been 7, 8 hours of nonstop. Makes me want to cry to think about it. Nonstop crying from some place that I am not, I'm pretty in touch. This was someplace deeper, and I'm calling it the core. So the Zohar, the premier classical text of Kabbalah, of authentic Kabbalah, says says a quote that Bechia, tears, crying, is affixed on my heart, on one side, on this side, and chedva, and pleasure, delight, joy, on the other, and goes on to explain that each of us, if we want to have an experience of knowing God, which is the reason why we're here, if we want to truly have divine consciousness, if we want to truly know God intimately, face to face, upfront and personal, and that's why your soul is here, my friend, that is why, then it can't come from a linear track or from one emotion. It must come from this utter polarity of crying and crying from the depths of your being and joy. So that's the first thing I want to put on the table here, that one emotion must not wipe out another emotion. It doesn't, it can't, and it's not meant to. It is the switching back and forth, the experience of the intensity of the longing and the missing and the you could call it the trauma, the grief, the sadness, even the rage, the anger, the overwhelm. We're all sad and we're all mad, and we all have good reason to be right now, even if we're walking around each day with a pretty fair amount of grace, just getting done what we have to do. And even those who are lucky enough to just be relaxing and enjoying life, and that's a lot of people too, a lot of the time. But underneath the surface, even for those who are, there is this well. I wasn't in touch with this well, but there is this well of all these core emotions that have been burdening the soul since the beginning of time, and they're here on purpose. And as the Zohar says, and the Mittler Rebbe, the second Rebbe of Chabad, whose teachings are one of the major focal points in my school subjects, in his chapter 6 of Shari Yichud, the gate of unity, the gate to divine unity, after which I named, my own gate of unity, is the gateway to divine consciousness. This text and all of the mystical Torah, the authentic Kabbalah and Hasidus, that's what it's here for, to awaken, to make a pathway for the full expression of the soul in every part of our being, to the degree that your soul is fully expressed in every part of your being. That is the degree to which you are able to be intimately connected to God in every part of your being. That is also the degree to which you're able to experience real, robust health in every part of your being. But in chapter 6, the Mittler Rebbe quotes this quote from the Zohar, that crying is affixed on one side of my heart and joy on the other. And he describes that there are 3 levels of connecting to, of experiencing this back and forth, that allow for the true experience of divinity in the body, a true experience of elokus, of godliness, of God in the body. It doesn't come from sitting on a mountaintop. It doesn't come from flying high. It doesn't come only from going to the depths. It comes from this back and forth. We see the range of the pleasure of connecting, of being one, and the intense anguish of being separate that the soul experiences, that we experience. Let's be real. Who doesn't experience anguish sometimes? Only someone who's completely emotionally shut down, I think. If not for yourself, for other people. I mean, the world is predicated on, hello, new baby, when are you going to die? How long? And I don't mean to be morbid at all. I just mean to be real, because Geula is about transcending death. It's about getting past it. It's about not needing it. It's about being so alive, the soul so alive within the body, so revealed within the body, within the mind, the heart, the senses, that intimate relationship with God and with who you really are, who each of us really is, the oneness that we are, that we don't need death to cleanse us from anything. We don't need death to shed the body for a while so that we can experience more of a clear vision, like people report when they, report NDEs, very interesting topic, near-death experiences. That's not the end game at all. The end game isn't heaven. The end game is intimacy with God right here and right now, right here and right now, right here and right now. People, you know what? And before I even go on, let's just take a moment of silence for your innermost heart, respect, for your innermost heart and for your soul. And feel free to close your eyes. And what is that your heart is telling you? With every beat. Again, you don't have to search for words that can trick us into just diving into the left brain, which is not the best thing to do most of the time. But you just want to listen, make space for that heart, for that soul. And interestingly, and not by any coincidence, what we are promised, that when Geula is complete and we finally see God eye to eye, eye to eye, that's the promise. It's the eye, ayin hasechel shebelev. It's the eye of the highest mind that is at the core of the heart. The innermost presence of the soul is at the core of the heart, but not the heart the way we normally think of it. Oh, I feel this, so it's true. No, it's not about your feelings in that sense. It's about your knowings, and our knowings need to get deeper and deeper. And as we open to our core, they will. So make room for your heart. The next thing I want to say is I want to go back and talk a little bit about this idea of the crying and the joy, and how the Mittler Rebbe says it occurs in 3 levels. So I'm not going to go through the 3 levels precisely right now, but I just want to say that the easiest level to start from is in the deep learning, like the Shara Yichud, like the Gate of Unity that I mentioned, to delve deeply into the mystical Torah, to find God and yourself in that Torah. So how that works is an interplay between the 2 parts of the mind and the higher mind. So there's a part of your mind called the Koach HaMaskil, the highest mind, the highest part of your mind. That is not even mind, the way intelligence, the way we think of mind, but it's the power of intelligence. It's the power that will ultimately allow you to have a thought. It's the power that will ultimately allow you to know anything. We're talking about knowing. So in order to do that, you have to learn how to use your mind correctly. So the left brain is the know-it-all brain. It is a very, in its downside, it also has a huge upside, because the left brain is what allows us to internalize things. What your left brain knows, that's reality for you. That's your truth. You want to talk about your truth. That's what your left brain really knows. So your left brain might be sensing something from your right brain and come to a conclusion based on that, and that is your world. That's your paradigm for truth. So this polarity between the crying and the happiness, we feel good when we know something. We feel good when we've got it together. We feel good when we're on top of our game, when we've mastered it, when we have the right answer, even starting from little kids. Teacher, me. How embarrassing and horrible is it if you get the wrong answer? That's ingrained in us. But what's meant to happen in the search for divine consciousness through the holy texts is that the left brain's know-it-allness, whatever it already knows, and it could be very legitimate what it knows, but it's not legitimate enough, because divinity is infinite and the left brain's finite. So it's got to break. That thing that you know has to break. There has to be a break, or to use our recent language, a burning down of that. And then that opens up something new from the right brain. The right brain is really a receptacle. It's a vessel that receives from the higher mind, from the Koach HaMaskil, from the divine mind, which already knows, but it doesn't know in the shape of knowledge. It knows it is a potential for knowing things. So when the left brain, when something and again, there are 3 levels that the Mittler Rebbe describes this process as, I'm talking about the first one, and I'll lead into a little bit of the second one with that. The easiest way to start is by delving into deep consciousness. Break your old paradigms, break them, burn them down, burn them down, burn them down. They are going to keep you in exile. They will get burned down. If not by you, they'll just get burned down, because that's what's happening to us. We're going to go to our course. We are going to, there's no other way. But you can participate, carrot or stick, you can participate out of free will and dig into that learning. Find yourself a teacher, find yourself the situation. If I can help you, reach out to me. Anyway, I'm not the only teacher. And delve in and be ready to, like they say, beginner's mind, be ready to not know a lot of things, to not know, to unknow, to unlearn, and then to relearn. And this process happens level after level. As you unlearn left side, yearn to know more, are faced with the fact that I don't understand anything at all. Hashem, God, I understand nothing. I thought I knew what was going to happen. I thought I knew how it was going to happen. I thought I thought it would be easier than this, or whatever it is that you have to say to God. That plea for understanding more, and then a new insight, because the teacher gives when the student longs, begs, opens. will come into your right brain, and then you'll pull it in, you'll work with it, you'll try to understand it until it's part of your left brain internalized consciousness. So you go from happiness, complacency, let's say, to that yearning, and then that yearning catalyzes something, and then that creates a joy of being a bigger self. But guess what? Then it has to happen again, and this happens in when we engage in the learning. That's part of what it's here for, as Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai says, based on his download of Kabbalah of the Zohar, that with this wisdom, our people can be, my people can be your people. The people will be redeemed with mercy, with compassion. So we, though, need to change our consciousness, because our consciousness is that which separates us from reality. Reality is Ein Od Milvado. There's nothing here but the one, and you're part of it, baby. That's what it is. So it also occurs in life when we feel like what I don't know if you're a person who believes in God, loves God, doesn't love God, is mad at God. I used to be mostly mad. First, I started out not believing, then I was mostly mad, and then I went to a lot of love, and then I have love and some mad, and whatever. It's a relationship. It's a real relationship. You have to be real in every real relationship, or it isn't a relationship at all. But there are many things that we don't understand yet, and for me, that doesn't feel good at all. Although I recognize it as a teacher, I'm speaking from a different perspective. I recognize it as human also. Remember, there's a constant shift. If you are doing this properly, and I want to quote what the Mittler Rebbe says, if you are doing this properly, if you are aiming to know God, to have divine consciousness, to know your own soul for real, then your experience of crying and joy must be exactly equal to a hair's breadth. If it leans a hair's breadth to this direction or a hair's breadth to this direction, you're covering up something, and therefore you're hiding from the truth, and therefore your channel is blocked, and therefore you cannot know. It won't be permanent. You'll be pretending, deluding yourself, or it won't last. That's basically what it says. So that said, the Tanya, the premier text of Chabad Hasidus, as opposed to the Zohar, which Okay, am I back? I mean, are we still in the broadcast? I don't know what happened. It looks like the internet crashed over here or something, but it looks like there are people still on, so I hope I'm still live. Sorry for the break. Anyway, the Tanya talks about the emotion of guilt, if you could call it an emotion, as opposed to the emotion of bitterness. So guilt is, and this goes for every emotion. This goes for the core emotions. I've divided them for myself into basically the core four. There's the emotion of sadness and grief that can have a very toxic side to it. It can have a very uplifting side to it. I'll explain what the Tanya says in a minute. That goes for sadness. It can have a very cleansing, purifying effect, or it can have a very toxic, lowering effect. Same for anger and rage, exactly the same thing. And the same for, I'm going to say shame, because that's the word that I use when I think about it. But let's say that not just shame, because shame doesn't really, shame is the core toxic emotion, but um, it doesn't really have so much of an upside in its pure form, but it does have an upside to feel small. Feeling small can have a huge upside. So when it comes to guilt versus bitterness, guilt is a swampy emotion. It makes you feel so bad about yourself. It catalyzes shame, actually, and it just shuts you down. It's like, what's the point? It's like, I never, you're a failure. You can't, you never did, you never will. It's just that core feeling of, why even try? Which, if you think about it for a moment logically, it's just an excuse to do it again. So bitterness, though, bitterness is a fire emotion, and bitterness, fire burns things down. So it might, at the first moment, you can look at, and I want you to do this. I feel like I lost a little bit of my flow, but I got to give it over. Here we are back. Bitterness is a catalyst to look at what's not working or what has not worked. It's like holy anger. Holy anger. This is a month where we're the month of Hebrew, month of Tevet, is the month where we're meant to use holy anger in order to conquer the other kinds of anger, whether ours or other people's, the other kind of like, I'll burn you down, what people are doing to other people and what we're sometimes doing to ourselves. So the quality of holy anger is here to burn that down. And that's bitterness. Bitterness is when you look at your life, you look at your dreams, you look at your potential. I feel like I'm going to cry. You look at everything that you have given up on or that you want, but you just can't quite get yourself to do it. Or you could if only you would, or you could have, but now maybe it's too late. All that stuff, or things that maybe you did that you so wish you hadn't done, and you're stuck in the past because of it, and you feel guilty because of it, and it's pulling you down. And it's holding you in place. It's holding you in that place where you don't want to be. Burn it down. Get mad. Get mad. So when we talk about all of these core feelings going to our core, there's deep sadness there. Sometimes it comes out, after like 7-8 hours of crying and sweating. I sort of felt like, in a way, like I must be purging something really, really, really deep. And it did just seem like it's still bringing me to new places. But I can't do it on command. I can't do it out of just wanting to do it, I'm like, oh, maybe I'm going to cry. Cry. No, no, not coming. I could maybe force a few tears, but this was coming from the deepest possible place. Same with the rage that we have. When we really get in touch with what's hurting here, what's hurting here, what is, and what am I giving up? What have I lost out on? And when we can let ourselves feel the sad and the mad, the grief and the rage, and we can let it out. Again, I just said you can't cry on command. Maybe you can, but you can write it out. You can feel it. You can honor it. You can make space for it. You can talk it out. You can talk it out in prayer. You can talk it out to yourself. You can talk to your soul. You literally can do this. You can talk to somebody else that you trust. Don't talk to somebody you don't trust. Not on this level. And that will allow it a flow from where it's been condensed and trapped and held, buried, like packed down mud forever and ever and ever inside of you, blocking the flow of that incredibly brilliant, illuminated, godly, holy soul, and your soul light and your soul fire. So your soul fire, as it burns down all of this old deep stuff, and all of your excuses too, give them up. The 5-day training will help you with that so much. January 2nd, start the new year, the new solar year out with some real strong intention, with some real strong power, with some real strong fire and light. That's what we're going to be doing there. Again, if you haven't signed up, Sign up at gateofunity.com/soulfire. It's scrolling at in the banner underneath my face here. But meanwhile, just take a look at what you're saying to yourself. You know, what beliefs you're really holding, where you've given up hope, where you're making an excuse and letting fear or discomfort or uncertainty stand in the way between you and your dreams, you and your purpose, you and your mission. It's not time to do that anymore. It's really, really not time to do that anymore. It's time to get into your core. Okay, and as you do that, like the phoenix, the old burns down, the new rises up, and you have a new life force to enter into a new chapter of not only your life, but this world. So I think I'm going to leave it here, unless I say I'm broadcasting. I actually see comments on Facebook. I'm broadcasting simultaneously on YouTube because I know most people don't like to be on Facebook these days. So even if you are on Facebook, Facebook does not show videos to everybody. It's got its own little tricky things going on. So go and sign up go subscribe to my Shifra Hendry channel, Shifra Hendry on YouTube. And you'll get, if you press the little bell, you'll get notifications of whenever I come on live. I am doing these every Tuesday. I canceled my class this morning because I needed to get some, COVID recovery rest. I mean, I'm rescheduling it, but I did not want to reschedule this because it's new, and I want to make sure that everybody knows where to find me, that you know where to find me on Tuesdays at 3 o'clock Eastern, 12 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. in Israel. At some point when I go back to Israel, I may make it just a little bit earlier, but for now, here we are. And so I really strongly encourage you to sign up to the YouTube channel, and we're getting out on other podcasts already, but that's going to build. Doing more besides this appointment that you and I have every Tuesday at 3, to be doing more different kinds of broadcasts, like I've sometimes done, whether interviews or geula conversations or whatever it might be. Matrix healings. I keep thinking I was going to schedule one for last week, and then coronavirus came and crowned us with a new access to new parts of ourselves. So as it's here to do for the world, and I pray that it does in only peaceful and healing ways, directly healing ways. So subscribe to the YouTube if you want to be part of that. And meanwhile, please also join the Gate of Unity Soul Infused Influencers group here on Facebook. You can look that up so that you can be part of the community that will build around the training. I am thinking of opening other platforms, but that's for later. Anyway, thank you for your best wishes, everybody. And last but not least, when you like videos, literally when you press, the little like buttons on any platform, the algorithms show the videos to more people. It's not just for the ego of the host, although that does get stroked too. Of course, we all like to know that we're making a difference for people. But importantly, the more people who actually engage with any video, this, if you don't know the secret, now you know it, the algorithms of all of these platforms are such that the platform owners want to get the biggest bang for their buck. So they program things in such a way that the more people who will show that they're interested in certain content, user content, the more those people will buy the products of the advertisers that they show, so on and so forth. So the more people who interact, whether it's through liking or making a comment or sharing, they're all good. They have different values, but they're all really, really good. So the more Facebook, YouTube, etc., literally will show people the content. Especially that's true on, I'm not sure exactly, I'm a little bit new to YouTube, but that's how Facebook works 100%. So if you resonate with any of this, if you think it is of any value, just pick up your finger and press the like button. If you want to be notified of future events, subscribe. If you want, because then you'll get a notification when it happens. If you think that it's of any value to other people, share it. And If you would like me to know where you are holding, and also to up the algorithm, but if you would like me to know more about you, this is a one-way. This is a broadcast. So broadcast is coming from me to you, although your energy and love is coming from you to me as well, and prayers, and I really appreciate them. The 5-day event will be more interactive, much more of a two-way conversation. But right now, there is the potential of a somewhat of a two-way conversation by you sharing here. Even if I don't see it when I'm talking, I will see it afterwards. You can leave me your questions, your suggestions, your comments. What is of value? What shifts for you? Where's your heart? Where's your heart? Ultimately, the core of the heart, as I said, is where the core of the soul will be revealed. So thank you for being with me. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next week. Same time, same place. To our cores, our soul light and fire being revealed, burning down the darkness and shining the light. Lots of love.